And this is the Soils Lab, and this is where we analyze soils for all different characteristics. So I've got some soils here from different places. These white ones here are from the Socorro area, and these are samples of what we call a calcic horizon, which other people may know as caliche. And these are a soil product, if you like. These very red ones are from an island of Kahalawi from Hawaii. These ones here are some samples from the jungle in Panama. And this is some beach sand, also from Panama. And we do a variety of different analyses here. We're looking for different things. These samples here from Hawaii, we're interested particularly in the magnetic properties of these soils. They're very red, which tells us that they have a lot of iron oxides in them, and iron oxides have a magnetic susceptibility. What we're particularly interested in here is looking at the natural variability of the magnetic signal developed in soils as a way of improving the detection methods for looking for unexploded ordnance in mines and that sort of thing. One of the primary ways of locating unexploded bombs and mines is by identifying the buried material by a magnetic susceptibility meter or a magnetometer. And part of the problem is that the natural variability or the natural magnetic signal changes, and so we need to identify what the natural signal is so we can determine if what we're looking at is an anomalous signature or not. These samples from Panama we've been analyzing. In particular, we're trying to characterize the hydrologic properties of these sediments. We can, just by looking at them, if you look at them closely, you can see there are areas where they have a lot of red iron oxides in them, and then interspersed with that they're in a clay matrix. And that tells us that the soil has been exposed to wetting and drying conditions, or aerobic and anaerobic conditions. And so we're particularly interested in trying to figure out how water moves through this soil, how quickly it moves. And part of the reason for this is part of a project we're involved in trying to determine the hydrologic characteristics of the Chagres watershed in Panama, which is the watershed that provides the water for the Panama Canal. And as they're expanding the canal, they need to find more fresh water, or to determine how long that the supplies they've got are going to last. And the soils on the hill slopes in the Chagres watershed are very important in trying to, or very important in controlling the movement of water into the streams and ultimately into the lakes that feed the canal. This sand here, which has this black material in it, is a beach sand, which is the parent material for some soils in Panama. And this is another part of the project that we're working on with the Hawaii samples, in trying to understand the natural magnetic properties of the subsurface or soils. These white layers or calcic horizons from the soils around Socorro are probably very common to most of the people in this area. And this is formed over very long periods of time by the accumulation of calcium carbonate dissolved in rainwater or coming in dust. And they accumulate in the soils, and over around about 500,000 years you will develop a very thick and indurated block of soil like this. And as you can imagine, it looks like a rock, and in many ways it behaves like a rock rather than a soil. And it has a big control on the hydrologic properties of the soils. And so it controls how much water is infiltrating into the soil, how quickly it goes in, how long it stays there, and how much is available for plants for ecosystem processes, or how much runs off and is available for stream flow and things, particularly in the summer. So we can do all these different analyses in this lab, and I try not to make it look too messy. I have 5 undergraduate students who essentially run this laboratory for me. I just basically provide them with the money and keep up the supply of samples, and they work for me for about 10 hours a week, 10 to 20 hours a week during the semester. and provide all the data that we need for our research projects and for writing proposals and various things like that.